Welcome to this week's assembly. Mr. White here, hoping to take you through some ideas attached to this term's topic, which is improvement. We want to look today at the idea of accepting feedback and to understand why it's such an important part of our development as we continue to move forward and improve. Of course, you'll all know and understand that school is set up in a way that we try and improve you through doing various subjects. You'll hopefully be familiar with this particular slide here from our website, showing you all the subjects that we do. Our job as teachers and members of staff who work here is to work with you and your families in order to get the very, very most we can for all of you in every single subject. So that's in terms of your personal development, and also at the end of it, perhaps exam passes and the knowledge and skills and understanding that you develop through doing different courses. As a school and as a family, we want to develop the young people in our community because morally it's the right thing to do. We also know that in order to lead the kind of life that we know that you're all capable of and you'd want, we need you also to be able to compete as well against the people in other towns and cities and in your local community who want the same things as you do. We want to put you in a position where you can take advantage of what's on offer. It'd be perfectly reasonable for you to work in any of these cities or people in the cities that you can see on this map here to come and work where you are. So there's a lot of people who all want the same thing, and we want to put you in a position where you can get the most from it. One of the ways that we do improve is by receiving feedback, perhaps from teachers or our friends or parents or whatever. Unfortunately, we have this horrible tendency as adults to get lots of good feedback and possibly ignore that positive feedback about how well we've done, and tend to focus our time and energy and emotion on any bits of negative feedback. It makes us feel terrible sometimes if we get one piece of negative feedback. Some people, sometimes, we find it hard to cope with. So today in this assembly, we're going to take a look at that, try and understand why and what it is we might be able to do about it. In a moment, we're going to watch a video that comes from Canada, and it will help explain to us what happens in our brain sometimes for some of us when we hear something negative. As we get older, we get much, much better at processing this and learning to deal with the emotion and focusing on the improvement that someone's suggesting and thinking logically about it. But sometimes, particularly when we're younger, we find it much more difficult. It does also happen for adults too, something that we have to cope with and come to terms with as we get older. But anyway, watch this video and let's see what we think.
You know what anxiety feels like. We all do. Everyone experiences anxiety in some way or another. It's something that connects all of us together. Why we feel anxiety and what it really is, that may surprise you. Without anxiety, we'd all be in serious trouble. As soon as your brain senses you're in danger, a little piece of it, called the amygdala, kicks in. It gets your body ready to react. That could mean fight, run away, or shut down. It's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. This reaction goes back millions of years to our distant animal ancestors. Animals whose amygdalae were more sensitive to danger were more likely to stay alive and off the menu. Over millions of generations, this developed into the system we all know as anxiety. So you see, anxiety itself is not all bad. But when there's no immediate life or death threat, and your amygdala keeps telling your body that you're in danger, that's when anxiety becomes a problem. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between getting eaten and public speaking or failing a test. Human society has only existed for a relatively short time. It's messy and complicated and confusing, and our amygdalae just haven't had time to catch up. So sometimes, when we're in uncomfortable situations, our brains misread the risk and overreact. Our hearts beat faster and we breathe heavily, pulling more oxygen into our bodies. The muscles in our arms and legs tense up and fill with blood. Our skin perspires to cool us down. This would all be great if we needed to fight or run, but instead, we just feel tense and sweaty. Sometimes our minds go blank and we feel like we can't move or talk. That would be great if we needed to hide. Instead, we just feel stuck. When things trigger our anxiety, sometimes we try to avoid them, like our ancestors avoiding a predator. But that can cause problems when those triggers are important parts of life, like going to school or meeting new people, things that won't just give up and go away. So how does knowing all this help? Well, It starts with remembering what's really going on. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It's just your amygdala trying to tell you it thinks you're in danger, even if it gets confused about how much danger you're really in. Understanding why we feel anxiety is an important step in learning to manage it.
Hopefully that video helps you understand a little bit about some of the emotions that we experience when we receive any sort of negative feedback. And then if you do feel that in the future, you might be able to process it a little bit better, breathe a little bit, be calm and accept it. Lots of you have done exams recently, year 7, 8 and 9, year 11 have got some exams coming up. It's a really key time for you to receive feedback and hopefully be able to do a little bit of something about it. Ultimately, adults can help you, teachers, family members and so on, but so much about personal improvement is about what you are prepared to do. Unfortunately, we will always be able to make excuses, but whilst there's opportunity there, we've got to take it. Because ultimately, when you sit down and hopefully, get an opportunity for a job or something later, they'll be interested in the things that you've achieved, not any excuses that you make about why you haven't achieved certain things. So it's about making the most of the opportunities that we have now. For lots of you, you'll be looking towards going towards post-16, perhaps university in the future. For some of you, it might be employment or apprenticeships, but you're going to need to be prepared and to be the best person you are. These key things that are on the board now, things to think about building towards. Also, in order to be ready for employment, the kinds of qualities that your employer is looking for, that you're charming, that you're well presented, that you're good to work with, good to be around. Learning doesn't stop when you're at school or university or college. You also will continue to learn in order to be an excellent father or mother or partner and continue to be a good son and daughter to your parents as you get older. Learning continues for a long time into the future. And it's important that we're really good at listening to feedback, accepting all the positive stuff and enjoying that hopefully, but also where perhaps things don't go quite to plan, listening to that feedback, being able to cope with it and forming some plans so that you can become better tomorrow. Hopefully our assembly today is giving you some things to think about and hopefully some things to act on, something all of us need to do. Hopefully you can have a little bit of discussion time in your tutor group now to maybe consider some things that you might want to do moving forward. Thanks very much for listening. Have a great week.